There's room for everything in pro wrestling.
When's the last time we were truly worked?
Dana Brooke should be champion right now. How dare you, sir?
It's whatever at this point. Goldberg's in the Hall of Fame. That made it irrelevant at that point.
You know, are we wrestling nerds or not? No, we're not. We're cool guys.
And that's the bottom line, because Bama Dave said so. Well, rammer jammer and drop the hammer. It's this or that from across the pond today on the Bammer Slammer. If you're watching us right now on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/SmackDraw, thank you so much for doing so. Would you please make sure you follow us in the chat, announce yourself so we can shout you out when we go live. If you're following us on our YouTube channel right now, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell so every time we post a new video, you'll get notified immediately. We're posting in content almost every single day on this channel, and we don't want you to miss out on any of it. So from our Mute RNs to Kyle and RN doing the rewind, to the Bammer Slammer, to Will with bot spots and chair shots. So no matter when we post stuff, you don't want to miss out on any of it. So like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell. Today, we're doing a very special edition of This or That. It's become a mainstay here on the show, and we hope you guys are ready to enjoy it. But I've brought in two very special guests from over, like I said, across the pond. One is from the UK, and one is from Ireland, and I'm excited to have them both here today. First of all, over here to my right, he's the host of the hashtag SCW, the wrestling channel, where he discusses all things wrestling. He shares creative ideas, answers your questions, and keeps you updated with the latest wrestling news, rumors, previews, predictions, and reviews. Follow him on all of his social media and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Welcome for the first time ever to the Bammer Slammer, SCW Steve. Steve, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thanks for having me, and what an introduction as well there. You do it better than I do. Yeah, no, it's great to be on here for the first time. Big fan of your channel, and yeah, always follow your content. So yeah, it's really good to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, Steve, how excited are you for WrestleMania 38 this year?
Oh, 3.8. Yeah, I don't know. It's
not where it should be, huh?
And the thing is, I'll be honest with you, like in some ways I think the show's going to be good. I just think it feels a bit safe on the booking side. I think it's a bit predictable. I feel like I could predict what's going to happen already, so that for me is a bit of a downside. But I do think when you look at it and the show of shows, I think it will be good, and they have potential to do things that would be good for long term. But obviously I'm sure we'll dive more into that as the episode carries on.
I agree 100%. And then directly below me, he's a writer for NoDQ.com and a member of the Discus Lariat Collective, where they aim to cover pro wrestling with reviews and retrospectives featuring many of the top wrestling promotions around the world. Join the collective now and follow him on his social media and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Welcome also for the first time ever to the Bammer Slammer. This is Warren. Warren, how are you, sir?
I'm good, yeah. Thanks very much for having me on. Yeah, like as Steve was saying, watch a lot of your stuff, big fan. So yeah, it's finally good to collaborate now.
I'm very happy to collaborate with you as well. Warren, who would you rather hang out with for a day? Becky Lynch or Sheamus?
Oh, Sheamus all the way. Yeah.
You're afraid of Seth Rollins?
Yeah, pretty much. The man's a cardio monster. I can't run that fast, let me tell you that. I'll go on Sheamus. A few points with him.
Oh, man, yeah. I watched Sheamus on After the Bell with Corey Graves and with Out of Character with Ryan Satin. Sheamus he seems like such a cool guy. He really does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, absolutely. He's also really smart, which is he sells being a dumb Irishman, but he's actually really brilliant, and I really appreciate that. Both of you guys, you guys saw what happened recently with with Big E. Watching it back, who can you guys pinpoint whose fault is it? Did Big E not get enough push, or did Ridge not get enough rotation?
Well, I'd say it kind of looked to me that it was just Ridge wasn't expecting such weight. Do you know what I mean? When he lifted him, because it was like he didn't let him go. Obviously, it was just like he felt a bit of he's heavier than I expected up top.
Right.
And I think it was just complete accident. It's very hard to pinpoint it, really.
Steve, you agree?
Yeah, I think I would agree. I mean, like you say, accidents happen in pro wrestling. Obviously, we've seen some horror ones over the years, and this one goes into that category. And all I can say is thank goodness Big E, such a positive spirit.
Yes.
It's lucky he doesn't need surgery. He's got all the movements. This guy literally he wants to spread joy regardless of his situation. And I think you just have to give nothing but praise to the guy. He's one of a kind.
I agree 100%. I'm hoping for a full recovery. We can't wait to see what you do in the near future. But guys, welcome again to the Bama Slammer. Today we're doing a very special edition with you two of This or That. Have you guys ever seen an episode of this on the channel?
Have missed one of those for the time being, but I'm looking forward to diving into it.
Okay, so Warren,
Yeah,
you
I've
have
seen two
you
of them,
have
yeah.
okay, yeah, you have okay. We had one come out last month, and then we actually just recorded one a couple weeks ago, and I have another one that came out last night. It'll be previewing in April. I'm excited about it. And you guys, for those of you watching right now, this video will actually go up in the month of June, so hang tight for that. But when it goes up, you're going to enjoy all the content when it does. But this or that, you two are prime candidates of knowing, and you two stir stuff up like this on the IWC, where you put these two choices out there and say, okay, pick one. Do you pick Brett or Sean? Do you pick WrestleMania 17 or 19? Do you pick, this storyline or this storyline, this angle or this angle, whatever. And the IWC is flooded with choosing this or that. The biggest one, of course, WWE or AEW. But whatever you want to put out there, the point is it's fun to have these fun debates and topics. And if it gets heated, fine. If it stays cordial, whatever. But the point is, make a choice, stick by it, and explain why you choose it. And let's just have fun with the discussion. 15 topics for you guys to unravel and dive into. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right,
100%.
here we go. And you guys can take all the information from this back to your channel and talk about it in more detail if you want to. But the first one, I always start with moves. Here's number one. The sharpshooter or the figure four leg lock?
Sharpshooter.
Okay, why, Steve?
I don't know. I think for me, Bret Hart was one of my favorites when I first became a wrestling fan. And ironically enough, he won the World Wrestling Federation Championship from Ric Flair in October '92. I'm giving away my age already on this stream, which is not a good thing. For me, it was all about the sharpshooter, and I've always just found it. In my opinion, I think it's a cooler looking move, even though I'm pretty sure the figure four is just as devastating in its own right. But for me, I'd probably go with the sharpshooter.
What do you think, Warren?
Yeah, I'd go with the sharpshooter as well. Yeah, I think just like as he said, Brett is like one of the greats. Like I love him, and don't get me wrong, as much as Ric Flair is amazing, I think the sharpshooter just looked a lot better. And then you have other iterations of it as well, like Sting using the Scorpion Deathlock and stuff like that. I think it's just all around. It's just a cooler looking move. And Austin with the blood from WrestleMania when Brett had it locked in. I think there's no better image in my mind.
Yeah, I'm going to give it narrowly to the sharpshooter. Growing up, I was more of a WCW fan than a WWF fan, so Sting was my guy. And so watching the Scorpion Deathlock, which is a slight variation of the sharpshooter, but yeah, like you guys said, Brett it made it iconic. And with Stone Cold, and of course Montreal Screwjob, what move is at the center of that is the sharpshooter. Now, Flair's figure four, I hate to say this, it may get ripped off more than the sharpshooter does, but the people that do the sharpshooter tend to do it pretty well. But everybody these days seems to do a figure four. It makes me, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like it's some of those kind of moves need to be reserved to do an inverted figure four, do an upside down figure four. Don't do the traditional figure four the way Flair did it, because to me that kind of negates him doing it. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Anything else you guys want to add to this?
Just to say quickly, I think that Charlotte Flair gets a lot of her critics, but actually she deserves a bit of praise creating the figure eight. I mean, that's a different variation of the hold.
I love it.
Completely new dynamic, and personally for me, it's one of my favorite finishes at the moment.
I love the figure eight, 100%. Warren, anything else you want to add?
No, I'm all good for this one.
Okay, number two. Here we go. Two of the most protected finishers in the business today: the One-Winged Angel or the End of Days.
Ooh, I'll go with the One-Winged Angel.
Okay, how come?
Yeah. I just think more so for the fact that if you look at the Kenny and Okada matches, how he couldn't hit it, and it felt such a big deal when he did finally hit it, and you were like, whoa. And don't get me wrong, the End of Days, I love the look of the move. I think the End of Days is a great looking move, but the One-Winged Angel, I feel like it's just so much more impactful.
Right.
I think across any promotion, you could put that move in and you would be blown away with. Whereas I think if the End of Days was used in different promotions or by different guys, it wouldn't look the same, it wouldn't feel the same. So I think the One-Winged Angel, I think just how impactful it is as well. It just looks amazing.
Steve, go ahead. You might have to sway me.
To be honest here, like I mean, I feel Warren made a very good argument, but the thing is, though, I can't go through my initial. I tried to do my Joey Tribbiani here, where you clear the mind, you hear the two things, and the first one pops out.
Right.
So for me, the first one that came to mind there was End of Days, because I don't. Again, it just comes to like you say, cool visual ending moves. I know Kenny Omega's is, and I don't remember the last time Corbin's ever got a 6-star match, to be brutally honest. But at the same time, I would say that I just think it's a cool looking move. Both are very cool looking moves, but I don't know. I just feel End of Days. I feel it's so unique. I haven't seen anyone else do this, where perhaps with the one winged angel, even though it's still kind of unique in its own way, I think there are different variations of this move that are out there. Mm-hmm. This one I think feels like one of its own, so that's why I'm going to go End of Days.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of along the same lines. I kept thinking, okay, one winged angel, because Lance Archer has the blackout that looks very similar to it, and then any kind of, I mean, not really, but John Cena's got the AA where he flips you over and dumps you on your head that way, which is very similar. The End of Days, the only thing similar is like a flatliner, but that's done from the mat straight down. It's not a pick up and drop. So, and I mean, now granted, I will say this, and I've said this before. In my opinion, Baron Corbin's finisher should be the Deep Six. That thing looks amazing. I love that move. I've always said that should be his finisher. Everybody kicks out of that, but nobody kicks out of the End of Days. So I don't know. I don't know why, but the End of Days, when he hit it on Becky that one time, that was the peak of my hatred for him. I said, if you're willing to do this to a woman, I hope Seth destroys you. But so that being said, I'm going to pick the End of Days by the slightest of margins. And it's amazing to me that somebody that is always at the middle or top of the mid card never really gets a major push, why his finisher is so protected. Do you guys have any insight to that? While people kick out of super kicks and people are going to kick out of tombstones and whatever, but the End of Days, nope, that's off limits. Can't kick out of that one. So
yeah, it's almost like they have something planned. That's what it felt like to me for a while. That they were like, oh, he's going to be the next big guy, but it still hasn't happened yet. So I can't really get my head around why it's so protected.
And to be honest, I think its protection is lasting for a couple more weeks. I think that one Drew McIntyre will be kicking out of it in Dallas.
Wow. Okay. This is off the cuff, but Sweet Chin Music or the Claymore?
Oh, Sweet Chin Music for me. Yeah.
Right now for me, the Claymore, because everybody kicks out of super kicks, and it makes me mad. Everybody kicks out of super kicks. The Bucks and Adam Cole have ruined it for me. It's Shawn Michaels has even said, I should have had the pedigree because everybody kicks out of my move. So I hate it, man. I hate it. I wish they protected it so much more, because good grief, he retired Ric Flair with that move. Don't spit on it. Don't desecrate that move. That move should be iconic. But anyway, that's just me. All right, so End of Days 2-1, but it's okay, whichever. All right, this one's fun. Number 3. Choose your general manager: William Regal or Mick Foley.
Wow. I'm going to go the patriotic side of me and go for William Regal. Just purely, I can't go against the countryman, can I? And I think he's so cool right now with what's going on. Probably one of the hottest gimmicks in wrestling now, that he's aligned himself with Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley. What they're going to do with that group eventually when it's put together. I'm really excited for what their proposition is there. We've seen Wheeler Yuta last week on Dynamite potentially could be one of them. Lee Moriarty could be another one. And of course, they want Daniel Garcia, but he's now a sports entertainer with the Jericho Appreciation Society. Yeah. It's interesting to see how that's going to link together, because it feels now the professional wrestlers maybe at some point could be going against the sports entertainers. Who knows? Maybe we've got Regal excuse to say blood and guts at some point in the near future. But for now, for this answer, I think Regal, because, when you look at general managers as well, when you look through the history, Regal done a great job as commissioner back in the day. Don't drink his tea, but he did a great job there. When he put him in NXT, as well, NXT, no one's ever called him out. How many Raw and SmackDown general managers have been changed where in NXT, no one ever said a bad word about him? He was like the perfect book GM. Yes. So Mick Foley, great when he was commissioner, but 2016, I think people said otherwise. So yeah, Regal. I'm biased, but I'm going Regal.
Warren?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Regal, actually. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love William Regal. Like as you said, the whole commissioner gimmick that he had going on, and like him and Jericho, and he really helped actually like elevate a lot of people around that time. Like his few matches with Edge and stuff in, I think it was like 2002 and like 2001, stuff like that. That did great work for Edge then. to become a single star. And I think as a GM, as you said, Steve, didn't have a bad word to say about him with NXT. And I think when all the cameras are off and everything's said and done, he's the one who would be sitting there with the guys and being like, I think you should do this a bit more, do this less. And I think he's very nurturing when it comes to being like a general manager.
Yep.
So I think I'd have to pick him for that.
Yeah, the analytical booker wants William Regal, but from a sheer entertainment perspective, Mick Foley. Mick Foley would put himself in crazy matches. He wouldn't be afraid to throw the ref out of the ring and count the match himself. He wouldn't be afraid to give Mr. Sacco to somebody that got in his face. So there's a little bit of wanting to see chaos a little bit here and there for the laughter of it, but. If I was picking someone on a serious notion to be a true general manager, I don't know how you could beat William Regal. Even as a Raw general manager, he did a phenomenal job. So, yeah, I 100% agree with you guys. William Regal, unanimous. All right, number 4. Delete one of these T-shirts from ever existing. Now, not to say that the superstars couldn't create another version that could become iconic, but this design T-shirt will never exist if you delete it. Austin 316 or the Bullet Club. So picture the two shirts, and one of them's got to go. Which one are you going to get rid of?
I will go with the Bullet Club.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Bullet Club just because how watered down it's become. Like, I feel like everybody on the indies, even over here, like with OTT Wrestling, a lot of guys had different versions of a Bullet Club t-shirt. They had the design and it said like Job Our Club and stuff like that. I'm like, come on, like you can step back and take 10 minutes and just draw a design. You'd probably come up with something better. So I think the Bullet Club has to go.
Steve, you agree?
That answer was too sweet. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Austin 316, without that, I mean, that's arguably the biggest wave, the biggest motion in wrestling, taking to the other ingredients that made it happen with, the rivalry with Vince and obviously Mike Tyson back in the day and, beating Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. But Austin 316 is the biggest wave that wrestling's ever seen. Bullet Club is great from a New Japan and an outside of WWE perspective. And as Warren said, it's everywhere. I mean, in Impact, you've got the Finesse Club. Big fan of Chris Bay, by the way. But there's, Machine Gun, Carl Anderson. We've seen Young Bucks. We've seen Adam Cole in Ring of Honor with it. So it's happened with so many different variations that it's not original. And Austin 316 was one of a kind. So yeah, Austin 316 has to stay. Bullet Club, it's got to go.
This one's tough for me because I love the look of the Bullet Club t-shirt. Austin 316 is just blank letters, blank numbers. But at the same time, Warren said something identically. Okay, to form the Bullet Club, you ripped off this, you ripped off this, you ripped off, the black and white, and, I mean, you ripped off the Too Sweet. You just reincarnated the NWO and made it New Japan is basically what you did. Austin 316, I'm actually rewatching the Attitude Era right now because I didn't get to watch it live. I watched WCW live. And so, I don't know. That's weird. I wasn't a channel flipper. I wasn't. I will stay loyal to one and watch the other later. But watching it now, the way Austin 316's promo got cut, and literally within 1 week, you see posters in the signs, in the stands, and you see people putting Austin 316 on their white t-shirts and wearing them. And then eventually, once that Austin 316 t-shirt debuted, they started popping up all over the crowd scene. And then by the time he was at his hottest in 98, they were everywhere. It literally, I think it to this day is the number 1 selling wrestling t-shirt of all time. I believe is still holds the record for that. So if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, I can't deny greatness. Austin 316 shirt, it's got to stay. I agree with you guys. Anything else you want to add?
Just interesting, like you said there about being a channel hopper. So slightly off topic for me. I didn't have the access at the time to really see a lot of WCW growing up.
Right.
So I'm actually doing the reverse to you right now. I'm actually going through Monday Night Shows and Thunders. And unfortunately, I'm getting through now into 1999. So I'm getting where I know.
Yep.
I know the crazy stuff is on the way. I'm not quite to 2000 yet, and I can't wait for crazy things on the pole. Judy Bagwell being involved in whatever carnations of matches they're going to throw in. But still, it's an interesting time period. Like you say, with NWO, as iconic as it was, I mean, that was the original Bullet Club. Now, like you say, it's technically a carbon copy of it, even though, look, I won't deny, it is still cool. But,
yes, it's absolutely still cool, 100%. All right, next question. Here we go. Choose your tag team partner. Undertaker or Kane?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Warren.
Do you know what? I'm gonna, just for how his career as a singles wrestler was, I'm gonna go Taker, because I know if I'm in the ring, I can't do anything that them boys can. So just let Taker take the reins there. And I think as well with the whole Bruises of Destruction, I loved Kane's chokeslam more than anything else. But if it was Undertaker in the ring, I felt like I had to watch it. Do you know what I mean? I felt like he was the main guy in the Brothers of Destruction as well. I think he actually did a decent, that was a decent tag team run. Do you know what I mean? Especially in like
way too
01,
short. Way too short.
It really was, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll go with Taker with that one, yeah.
I'm going Kane. This is, I love Taker, and he'll always be my favorite of the two. But I'm talking, if I'm in a tag team with Kane, I know my strength is going to be hit and dodge and look for the opportunity to grab a leg or grab an arm. Taker was actually a little shorter than Kane and not as strong as Kane. So I need the power on my team if I'm going to be the more elusive technical guy. So I would pick Kane because he'd be the yin to the yang. I feel like Taker and Kane both had very similar strengths. So if I need somebody that's the exact opposite of me, Kane's a little bit more different than me than Taker is. So I'm going to pick Kane. Steve, go ahead.
Great choice, great arguments. I think that just to clarify, Teddy Long is not the GM, is he, on this show?
No. No.
So don't want to go one-on-one with The Undertaker. If I had to do that, then I'll have him as a teammate. But if I was to look actually and say, right, okay, which one of the two? I'm going to go Kane as well, because he's had more tag team championship runs. You look at Team Hell No.
Good point.
Team up with RVD, Brothers of Destruction. Didn't he team with like Booker T or someone at some point? He's had multiple different teams.
Big Show.
He's had multiple. Yeah. So he's been tag team champion more times. So yeah, for that reason, I'm going for the Big Red Monster or the Big Red Machine, and I could be the little machine in the corner.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, man, I'm loving this. Do you guys think that I don't want to pull back a bad wound here, but should they have let sleeping dogs lie in that Saudi match with them and DX? Should have never happened.
Yeah, 100% for me.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing. That's all we'll say. It seemed great on paper. The idea that Sean would come back for one match just felt like, oh, go on then. DX versus Brothers of Destruction, we never seen it. But who would have thought that we'd have wished we'd never done after it happened?
Unbelievable. I agree. If you're gonna come back, Sean, give me Sean and AJ, or Sean and Finn Balor, or Sean and Daniel Bryan, student versus teacher. Give me that match. Don't give me this. I 100% agree. All right, and for the record, by the way, that match never happened. I don't acknowledge it. So, okay, next one, number 6. Which is worse, having a terrible ring gear or having a terrible finisher?
Oh,
I'd say ring gear.
Really? Why, Warren?
Because I think that's the first thing that a lot of people notice. Do you know what I mean? So if you're walking down, whether it's a local show or whether it's WrestleMania, if you come out in rags, that's the first thing people are going to notice, and they're going to be like, oh, this guy is not at the level that everyone else is. So I think the ring gear more so. Don't get me wrong, like a finisher, you could have an amazing finisher, but you could also have, like, I don't know, I can't even think of the worst finisher. You could have the finger poke of doom as your finisher. Do you know what I mean? You could have something like that. The Cobra. You could have something like that. But at the end of the day, you could win a match by something else as well. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I think the ring gear, it's the lasting impression for me.
Steve, you agree?
Totally agree. No one forgave Keith Lee from day one, did they?
That's such a good point.
No, it completely ruined his time on the main roster in WWE. Like, literally, the way I look at it, and this is controversial, you wanted some controversy, I think WWE blamed the fans of why Keith Lee didn't work out, because they had every intention of pushing that guy. He came up, they dressed him how they wanted him to, but he beat Randy Orton 6 days on pay-per-view after debuting. And a year later, he's not with that company anymore. And then now he's with All Elite Wrestling. Look, he's dressed how we want him to dress.
Yes.
Hopefully he's going to be booked how we want him to be booked. But, Keith Lee had a good finisher, and it didn't matter. So that's the way. And the thing is, when you look at finishers, I mean, I see behind there with Warren, Hulk Hogan, the leg drop, arguably one of the worst finishers ever. Along up there with the Cobra, but Hogan, Hulkamania, one of the biggest things ever.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. You got a good point. I mean, Glacier's finisher, that super kick, Steve, you watched him, but his gear, the Sub-Zero look, wow. Now eventually it was stupid, but in the beginning it was cool. So, but I agree with you guys. Yeah, even Santino Marella with the Cobra. Santino Marella has never had bad ring gear. He's always looked like, fun, and even when he's Santina, being the girl character, it's funny. So I agree with you guys. Yeah, if you can get over, good grief, Dusty Rhodes with the bionic elbow, you can get over a bad finisher if you have charisma and have the ability to ooze something. Now I will say, okay, let's just think about that for a second. Is there anybody that has bad ring gear but they got over? That's a good question. I'm trying to think right now. Somebody that you look at them and go, why the heck are they wearing that? But yet everybody loves them. They're over.
Well, the variation of the character probably isn't over. And to be fair, it's not her first ring gear. But I mean, I would say Alexa Bliss right now is probably suffering from just a character in general, I think is where she's suffering more than anything else, actually. So I would say that it's not really a fair answer. Alexa Bliss is for me, I think she's a great in-ring performer purely because she knows what to do. She knows how to get over. She knows the limitations, but she uses that to her strategy and an advantage where a lot of superstars are happy to expose their weaknesses. Right. Alexa doesn't do that.
No.
And with the current reincarnation of what happened with the Bray Wyatt character, she suffered it because that, especially now the Fiend is gone. Right. But obviously now she's had the Lily doll and all the rest of it. I mean, you would turn around and say, it's not the goddess. So, but is it a fair comparison? Because she was a different character before. Characters need to change. They need to evolve from time to time. She was evolving when she was with 2022's answer to Dr. Shelby, although I can't remember his actual name at this point.
Right.
But she's gone missing again. So we'll have to see when she comes back. But hopefully she would be someone that, if you could repackage the character, which obviously then would repackage the ring gear, everything about it, Alexa Bliss for me would be someone that could go straight back to the top again, even though they've tried under this current gimmick.
Yeah, I agree, because they put 2 months into these psychiatric treatment sessions and, trying to get us, and all of it was just for what? To be inside the chamber in Saudi? That's all it was for? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. And she's even tweeting on a daily basis, I'm still here. I'm still here. Yeah. So, and people are giving her a hard time for that. And I'm like, y'all shut up. Let the girl do what she wants to do because she's worth it. She's talented. Yeah, I 100% agree. Warren, can you think of anybody?
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I do have like a pet peeve when it comes to gear. And I hate seeing guys who wear kick pads when they don't kick. I don't know why it always stands out to me. It just wrecks me.
That drives me nuts. That drives me nuts.
And I wouldn't even mind, like, I love like the likes of, say, even a CM Punk. He doesn't kick that much, do you know what I mean? And he wears kick pads. So it constantly just takes me over. I'm like, why are they wearing that? And a lot of indie guys, they'll wear it. They'll just wear it as a get up. They're like, oh yeah, have me sneakers on. I have me kick pads. I'm like, okay. And you're a big burly guy and you're doing suplexes. That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's just something that sticks out.
That's a good point. Would Shawn Michaels' buttless chaps be bad gear? And he got over.
Yeah, true.
Maybe. Oh, Macho Man's fringe? Maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I suppose, yeah.
Everybody wears it now. It's iconic now. Everybody, the Young Bucks even wear it now. So. I don't know. That's a good point. Are they doing more of the rockers? Anyway, whatever. All right, next one, number 7. Here we go. Which gimmick is worse, Disco Inferno or the Honky Tonk Man?
Honky all the way. Honky all the way. I don't know. I said I'm watching WCW right now. There's nothing. If you say a wrestling theme song that's going to get me pumped outside the NWO every time I hear it, it is Disco Fever, and I don't care. I would take the flack that comes with that because I just think it's awesome. For me personally, yeah, I suppose arguably Honky Tonk Man has done more. He was Intercontinental Champion for the longest time, but I don't know. Disco maybe not the best wrestler in the world, but I always found the gimmick was funny. I got light entertainment and amusement out of it. So yeah, I'm going to say that I'm actually preferring Disco, believe it or not.
So, but as far as the gimmick, Disco and being a disco guy is a better gimmick than being a honky tonk guy.
I guess I'm going to go. So I've got to go one or the other, haven't I? So right. Yeah, we've already had Elvis. We don't need a honky.
Oh, okay, that's a good twist. Warren, what do you think?
I agree. Actually, yeah, I do actually like Disco Inferno. Like the person. Glenn Gilberti or whatever his name is, bit of an asshole, but overall I think the disco gimmick is just so entertaining. And it's that kind of thing that it got a reaction.
Yeah,
I mean, you might have just booed him all day, but that's good in wrestling, as we know. So yeah, I think Honky Tonk, I always found him fairly boring. And then his in-ring work, don't get me wrong, like he's a solid wrestler, but it's just he was never my cup of tea going back and watching that stuff. So I think it's Disco.
Yeah, I think Disco was definitely the better gimmick. Now, who's the better personality? Honky Tonk, man. I hated him.
Oh yeah.
Oh, as a heel with that stupid accent and the way he dressed and the cheap move and hitting everybody with a guitar, and yeah, every time he got on the mic, I wanted him to shut up. He was such a good heel at getting heat like that. Disco, he definitely owned that gimmick. He made the most of it that he could. He wrestled in flat out flare pants and did everything else. So yeah, and good grief, the dude let himself get beat by a woman multiple times. So that takes respect in my book. So I 100%, yeah, I would much rather, if you said, okay, pick one of these gimmicks to own, I'd much rather be a Disco guy than a Honky Tonk man. I agree, 100%. All right, next one, number 8, excuse me. Which match would you rather compete in? A cage match or a strap match?
Cage. I'll have to go with a cage. I think it's excuse me. I think the strap match, obviously, you can't really, what would you say, fake getting whipped by a strap. It's very hard to fake that. So I think the cage, yeah, obviously it shortens careers, as they say, and stuff like that, but I think it's a more memorable thing, spectacle as well. And I think I'd just love to be in there, just even stand there looking at it. I think it'd be awesome. But I think a cage match all day.
Steve, what do you think?
I'm going to say a cage match. Now, I look like I've just come out of American Top Team with Dan Lambert, I know, for those people that are watching. But for me, the two options you're giving me there is I can either be caged where I'm locked in the cage, yes, fair enough, or I'm strapped where I can't get away from the person. At least with the cage, I can get out the door or climb over the top. So that's my way of escape. I don't need a pinfall or submission. And yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to outlast if I'm put in the ring with someone like, I don't know, I'm thinking of a strong man like a Wardlow or a Will Hobbs or someone. I'm not going to run around and touch four corners of the ring. So cage all the way for me.
Yeah, I keep trying to think, if it is the strap match to where you have to touch the four corners, or is it like what it's been lately where all you have to do is be strapped to the guy, which is essentially also a dog collar match, except instead of a dog collar with a chain, it's a strap. So, but it's but the same thing is apply. You're attached to this guy, you can't get away from him. I feel like psychology-wise, I could do more with a strap match. I feel like I could make it matter and make it more mean something. But as far as which one do I want to be in, I'm with you guys. I'm going cage. I just feel like you have a little bit more freedom around the ring. Like Steve said, if I need to get away, I can try to get away. Now, I will say this, and I want to hear you guys' opinion. I hate the escape clause. I would much rather it's only by pin or submission inside the cage. The escape does not make sense to me because the point of the cage is to keep you both in it. So I've never, and to keep everybody else out of it. So I don't know if you guys agree with that or disagree, and if you disagree, tell me why. But I would much rather the escape, door or over, done away with. I hate it.
Yeah, I do agree to an extent. Yeah, the whole idea of the cage being you're in there and nobody else gets in, you're not supposed to be getting out until you win the match. So I do agree there. I think the only reason I suppose they have it is just because it makes it a bit more exciting for the fans, especially in attendance. I think more so because you can't. I've never seen a cage match live, but I imagine it's hard to see anything. So I think if someone's up there, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. They climb up there. I'm just hoping someone jumps back off more so than escapes. Yeah,
that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, do you know, I feel the same as Warren with that. I mean, like you said there, it would be amazing to watch one live. Like you say, what you get out of it, I don't know. Probably same with Hell in a Cell. But like you say, the idea of jumping up the top. And for me, growing up as a child, I loved the idea of someone climbing over the cage. That was used to be exciting for me. I got a buzz from it. My problem with cage matches these days is that WWE have watered them down. They're to the point where stipulation doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. At least AEW, there is a meaning behind the cage match. They have their own variation of it as well, obviously, where you can still go on the floor. It's kind of like a miniature Hell in a Cell, but without the top almost to a degree. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, yeah, I'm okay with it. I think going through the door is more of a cheap way, but it works for the heel. I can't remember if a babyface ever did it off the top of my head, but if a babyface did it, they shouldn't.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And if you do use the door to slam somebody back into it and all of those things, I can compromise on that. Yeah, the door needs to be chained and it won't be open until the match is over. I feel like that needs to be the way it is with that. Now, I will say this. I can't remember the last cage match WWE's had that wasn't a Hell in a Cell. So I don't feel like they've overdone it lately, but the previous decade they have. So I can't remember when the last cage match before Hell in a Cell was. The Saudi Seth Rollins and Edge Hell in a Cell's last match inside a cage I can remember off the top of my head. So
I think they did one on SmackDown around Christmas time, I want to say. They definitely did the year previous with, I believe it was Roman and KO.
That's right. I remember that.
One of Raw SmackDown did one around Christmas, early January this year, and unfortunately, it's escaping me who it was. But definitely, I can see Roman Reigns in that environment with someone, and it's not the Hell in a Cell with Xavier Woods, which I believe was on SmackDown.
I remember KO and Edge had a cage match on a house show.
MSG on
MSG,
yeah, that was on Boxing Day. That wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. So, but yeah, as far as on TV, I can't remember one until like you said, Roman and KO that one time. That's the one. That's the last one I remember on television. So, thankfully,
I've got it.
Go ahead.
Biggie and Lashley, October.
That's it. That's it. You're right. That's it. So still, that's been 6 months. So. That's not too bad. If they do 2 a year, I'm okay with it. That's a lot better than what they were doing for a longest time. I agree wholeheartedly. All right, next one. Here we go. Who had the better AEW Tag Team Championship reign? SCU or FTR?
Oh. Was either that great in the end?
Battle of the three-letter names.
I'll go FTR. FTR. I know SCU were the first, but I think politely, if you ask people which one they remember, they'll remember FTR, probably purely because of their feud with the Young Bucks.
I want to say the same thing. I feel like the matches FTR had were more memorable. FTR style is memorable. Nobody wrestles like them right now. They're very unique in that they're old school. So when they held the belts, you remember them having the belts. I do think it's cool SCU were allowed to be the first tag team champions. I think that's a cool honor to give to them. But yeah, as far as the reign and the totality of the reign and defenses that I remember within both reigns, yeah, I'm gonna give the slight edge to FDR in this one.
Yeah, I think I agree. FTR with that one as well. I think SCU, it was like, oh yeah, there's our tag team champions, and then it didn't feel like nothing happened for a long time. And then they had I think that's another thing with AEW with that kind of gimmick matches to lead into title shots. I think it works when you have a team like SCU when they're not kind of doing much with it. Whereas FTR, I was so excited to see them against the Bucks and stuff like that and see them have that title reign. So I think, yeah, FTR.
What are you guys feeling about what FTR is doing right now? It seems like they're almost trying to babyface a little bit.
It's strange because obviously they're meant to be part of the Pinnacle, which is probably one of the most despisable heel teams because we've got MJF, but it feels like that is slowly crumbling from within because Wardlow's already walked away.
Yep.
Sean Spears can just be the lackey to MJF. For me, the idea as well, they've got rid of Tully Blanchard, which was the perfect heel manager at the time, and now it looks like teasers have been put in with Bret the Hitman Hart. So of course, they're big Bret Hart fans as well. Bret Hart has history with AEW holding up the World Championship when it was presented for the first time.
Right.
And let's not forget the Hall of Fame as well. Wasn't it Dash the one that came to Bret Hart to punch that person?
Yes.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of links in there. There definitely was some teasers about it. I wouldn't mind seeing the transition because I don't really remember them, even the Revival as babyfaces at any point. So it'd be interesting to see as an old school tag team as babyfaces, but I do love their work as heels. So it would be kind of, to see their tricks sort of take a step to the back would be interesting. But hey, who knows? Maybe we get some classic old school babyface stuff. Maybe we'll get maybe not a Rock and Roll Express, but maybe someone of that ilk, maybe someone that's old school around that time.
Yeah, I agree. And with the Owen Hart Cup about to start, the great thing to have Brett nearby for when that happens. So I think that would be really, really cool. Yeah, I agree. I think I mean, FTR is one of my favorite tag teams in the world right now because I just love that style of tag team wrestling where everything is mental and it means something. And it's a yin to the yang. The Bucks are notorious for their matches meaning absolutely nothing, but their matches with FTR meant everything because the FTR made them work and made them make their moves matter, make their spots matter. So yeah, that's the weirdest thing about the tag team division right now, and it's a fair criticism, and I want you guys to tell me what you think about it because I love tag team wrestling, and I love it when it matters, but it feels like to me the only time the tag team division is really hot is when the Bucks are in the tag team title picture. And I don't know if it's because they're the main bookers of it or what, but anytime the Bucks are not challenging for the titles or the champions, the tag division seems to take a backseat even to the TBS and TNT title. And that isn't, I don't like the feel of that because I feel like the tag team wrestling should be as hot or almost as hot as the main title pictures. So
I think you're spot on, yeah. I think when it comes to tag team wrestling in AEW, say, now again, it's not a knock on the actual tag teams. It's more so
no, they got a slew of them too.
They do. They have so many, and when you look at it on paper, you're like, oh, I'd like to see this team against this team, this and this. But I think it's almost like they feel that there's not enough like draw power with them with most of the teams. But I think that's because they're not booked right. Do you know what I mean? Like the likes of the Bucks, they have their formula for a match. FTR have their formula for a match, whereas the rest of the teams, then you can almost divide between those.
Right.
So you could say, oh, well, this team does destroyers, this team does super kicks as well. So they don't feel any real difference. Right. Apart from being, we're the Young Bucks. We made it happen like this. So I think, yeah, it feels if they're not involved, the tag team division just fizzles out.
That is a good point. I feel like the only team that stands out a little bit different from the rest of them is maybe Red Dragon because they have more of the Muay Thai and kick style. So maybe that's a little bit different. Let's say, Steve, you do these kind of questions all the time. If you could remedy the tag team division and make it bigger and make it more meaningful, what would you do?
Well, they've got a couple of things that are going to go in their favour right now. They've got the Hardy Boys in. That's definitely going to add something to that tag team division.
Yes.
I'm sure that everyone's going to see them go for against every team. So to go for the tag titles makes sense. We've got Moxley and Danielson. If they're not going for the world title, I think they could be your next tag team champions at this rate. Obviously, we like we said, we've got the stables involved there, but we've got, like you said, the greatest array of tag team in the world there. I mean, like we've got the Jurassic Express, we've got FTR, we've got Lucha Bros, we've got you name them, they're all there.
They're all there.
They're all there. I could go on for ages, but unfortunately, I don't want to keep everyone all night. But at the same time, it's like you say, the Young Bucks are what are the, I was going to say the pinnacle, but they are the face of that tag team division. They are probably what people surround and think of it as. But there are teams there that could do it. I mean, Red Dragon for me are a great shout. I'd love to see them, what they could do with those championships. I just think that they, along with the Bucks, are being saved for when trios come in now, because I do believe this will be the year. But in the meantime, I mean, you've got Darby and Sting as well that could be in around there. So they've got teams that they can work with it, but they've got to, I think they need to put the tag titles on a team where, as Warren said there, they can be distinguished for something. And unfortunately, being dinosaurs isn't enough for me at the moment to get me hooked as tag team champions. Nope. And the thing also, I mean, we did with the Lucha Bros, don't just put them on the opener or the mid-card of Rampage every week. Now, Rampage is a great show. It's one of my favorite shows to watch each and every week because it's like an old-school Nitro back in 95. It just flies by. Before you've got time to think, the show is gone. It's the fastest 60 minutes on TV, bar none. But still, it does not feel as important. So tag team wrestling, like you said, it needs to be featured at the forefront. We get lots of tag team matches. I know that. But it needs to be more main events on Dynamite and stuff like that. But to a point where it's seen as more important than just the Bucks, or perhaps early in the time we made a great storyline, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page.
Right. I 100% agree. Last question on this before we move forward. With the slew of tag teams they have, the depth of tag teams they have, and the top-notch tag teams they have, do you even dare entertain bringing in the Briscoes?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I think they're better off without them, to be honest. Like, as much as I'd love to see the Briscoes against half of them teams there, I just feel that it's maybe it's social media, maybe it's all the talk behind it. I feel like it just won't translate well if it comes to it. I just don't.
I said they just won the Crockett Cup, I think.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So NWA, Impact, they got other places to go, but But they were the top ranking Ring of Honor champions, and they're in the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame now. And now who owns Ring of Honor? Tony Khan. So does that mean he technically owns them, or are they free agents? So I don't know. It's interesting.
They've got the championship match against FTR on April 1st, and I'm going to go on a limb and say a very early stage at the time of recording that I think FTR are winning those championships. That's what I think will happen. And they who knows, because with Ring of Honor now, AEW have the ability, and I think this is what they should do. So, take this for whatever you want, but I think they should use the people that are on Dark and Elevation that can't get onto Dynamite and onto Rampage, and give them some experience going in there. But if you've got some well-established people as well, and amongst that roster, like FTR as the Ring of Honor champions, they can get exposure being on Dynamite and showing, you should check this product out as well, because it's associated with us.
Yes.
But then when you go down there, for example, a team like Private Party would benefit so much being in that environment, get them the experience.
Agreed.
And if they were the ones then to beat FTR, goodness, what it does for them in a couple of years. And another team we've not talked about, and then a controversial team in their own right, but darn, they're entertaining, is the Acclaimed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And that, for the longest time, I thought that they were going to pull a Vincent Shane, and I thought that Cody was going to be the guy on Ring of Honor's contract, and that he was going to call in all of his Bullet Club buddies and go, "Hey, come on, let's be honest. We ran this before. We're going to run it again." But it's looking like that's probably not what's going to happen. But I just feel like if you're going to make Ring of Honor matter again, if you had like the Bucks and you had not Hangman, but if you had them and you had even Kenny Omega making a visit, like you said, FTR and some of these other guys, Bryan Danielson going back over there occasionally, the guys that when you think Ring of Honor, these are the all-stars. CM Punk, if they were the guys that came, we're going to breathe new life into Ring of Honor. We're going to bring back the true glory days of Ring of Honor, and I just feel like that would be more inclusive. But the biggest thing is, as we all have said, they've got to get a TV deal. They got to get on a time where we can watch them and we can DVR them. Otherwise, what's the point of owning them except for the library? And I don't want it to be just a library grab. I don't. I really want this to be something that, because I've never truly been able to become a Ring of Honor fan because I was never able to watch it. So I really want that to change for my generation and now for the next generation. So that's just my stake on it. All right, let's move forward. Next one. Would you rather join the Nexus or the Aces and Eights?
Ooh, wow.
Right around the same time frame.
Absolutely. Well, I think I'd pick Aces and Eights, and I always try and think of a slight comedy answer before I go into it big time. But if you remember the Nexus and Aces and Eights, both would cause chaos on a weekly basis on the television shows. But Daniel Bryan got fired for being too violent to Justin Roberts. So, I mean, I want to keep my job. So Aces and Eights seem like that, Impact let you do whatever you want in there. So, you could even, at that point, it was, you could crash weddings by the seams of things at the time. So, yeah, for me, the two stables, both were good, but, and both probably had mismanaged finishes, probably. It's probably a fair argument to say. But I would turn around and say that even though I was quite into the Nexus when they debuted, they had so many different reincarnations of variations in quick time. Aces and Eights, they were a cool thing for a bit longer, and I just liked their style, the way they debuted as well. Perhaps that touch more that it was, you were left wanting to know for a longer time. Nexus all came in night one, had that big impact on night one, but by SummerSlam, it started fading away. Aces and Eights went on for a good year or so. So I think I'd want to be a part of Aces and Eights.
What do you think, Warren?
It's a hard one because I'm thinking how the Nexus, although they all debuted together and stuff like that, I think it was like Wade Barrett got the match with Cena and stuff. I think it was such a big deal. And it only really launched one or two of the guys, though. Do you know what I mean? See, they did get lost in the shuffle as well. I think I'll go Aces and Eights, though. Just for, I do think the style was better. As Steve said, you want to keep your job as well. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to go in there and get sacked straight away. And I think as well, the weekly or the monthly kind of, here's a new member. Who is it? It could be this guy. It could be that guy. Yeah, I think Aces and Eights. Yeah, just edging it.
Yeah, this is tough because the Aces and Eights definitely was a more cerebral group. They definitely had more of a of a long-term angle. I mean, Bully Ray goes on over and over again about how it was a year-long build just to his final turn of winning the title at Lockdown and turning and revealing he was the leader of the Aces and Eights the whole time. It took him a year to get to that point. So that right there tells me the long-term booking that they had. The Nexus, I weep for the Nexus because it had so much potential to be such a really cool angle. And the stuff they did with Cena was great. But to me, the biggest miss is CM Punk was a perfect leader of the Nexus. If you really think with the pipe bomb and and getting people in line and being the voice of the voiceless, and we're not going to be like John Cena, and we're not going to be like these other guys, and we're going to be the underground, we're going to be the rebels from underneath, we're going to do what we want, wrestle how we want, say what we want, and whatever. And then, but for some reason, when he started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, Vince cut the loss and said, "Okay, no more dead weight. You're just a solo guy again." And so it was, I sit back and watch it now, and I'm like, dang it, they had potential. They could have really done something unique. I could have pictured all of them holding all the gold of the whole company. Both brands, tag teams, and both Intercontinental and US and the WWE Championship, and they could have easily had. And they could have. And then if you wanted to, branch out, you could have brought a girl in who feels mistreated, and she could have won the women's championship. You could have done so much with it, but yeah, for a cerebral cool factor and being, like Steve said, being allowed to do what you want and say what you want on television, I really feel like the Aces and Eights is a win-win. I think that, they had a more internal what the heck is going to happen next week with them, as opposed to the Nexus where you kind of started the chapter and closed the chapter by the end of the night, and then you waited for the next week. So I'm going to agree with you guys, Aces and Eights. Anything else you guys want to add to that?
No, I'll go with that one.
I'll go with that one.
All right, let's move forward. Next one, here we go. Would you rather win the Intercontinental Championship or the United States Championship?
Intercontinental.
Okay, why?
All day. Just the lineage, like the guys who had that belt. Like I think I actually said it on when me and Steve did a video. I think I brought up the fact that it was always the workhorse title. The guys who went in and stole the show every week had that title. Like you can look at like Jericho, Benoit, Angle had it for a bit.
The Miz.
The Miz did great work with it. And like there's some great IC title feuds. And then even like the smaller guys back in the golden era or whatever, like Bret had it, Michaels had it. And then like I suppose just past Razor Ramon had it.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. All the best guys had it. And I feel like it was kind of past it in a way where it was like, right, yeah, you're almost there as a world title kind of guy. But go on and just show us that get that stuff final hurdle. So I think IC title.
Steve, I'm going to let you be the tiebreaker. I'm actually going to go United States Championship here, and it's a lot of it's the WCW fan in me because that's where it really originally was. But it kind of was the same thing in WCW that the IC title was in WWF, where you had Sting, you had Lex Luger, you had Booker T, you had Scott Steiner held it for a little while. You had all these champions that that when they broke out in their singles career from a tag team or when they were coming up through the ranks to get the United States Championship was a big deal, and to hold on to that championship for a length of time was a big deal. And even maybe it's the Patriot in me. No offense to a British and an Ireland guy, but because sorry, but just the patriot of me seeing red, white, and blue and defending our country and the prestige that comes with that Great American Bash. Dusty Rhodes thought that was a big deal. The U.S. Championship would always be defended at the Great American Bash kind of thing. So I just feel like that there was a little bit more prestige on that side of it. However, I will 100% agree as far as the workhorse rate matches in the WWF. You could probably say match for match, the IC title had better contention and better contenders over the length of time. But maybe it's the nostalgia in me, and also a little bit of the NWA with the North American title and all of that. But there's the national title. But there's something to me nostalgic about that U.S. title that I just can't ever. This is a 51-49, man. 51-49. I'm going to barely go U.S. title over the IC title. So go ahead, Steve. Break the tie. What do you got?
I've got to say, I think both make very compelling arguments. I'm a big fan of both championships. I like what they represent just before I give my answer, because I think I've already half given away earlier in the stream what side I probably would be on here. Like you said, you go nostalgia, you go what you grew up with. I grew up with the Intercontinental Championship. It's one of my favorite championships of all time, one of my starting points was Bret Hart winning it at WrestleMania 8 from Roddy Piper. I've seen classics of him and Shawn Michaels. I've seen, all of the great matches over the years. And like you said, like was said the Bob Warren a minute ago, that established someone that was going to go and win the world title or go for it straight afterwards. In my experience of watching, obviously, wrestling for the last 15, 20 years, especially the time the United States Championship has been in WWE, that hasn't always had that representation. Mm-hmm. And it's a real shame because if you go for another championship, which I would say you say with patriotism, and I totally agree, and I can't talk, I was going for Regal earlier. But for me, one that meant a lot for me was the European Championship. I loved that when it was around in WWE. That was a championship that I was sad to see go, and it was unified and taken away so I can... I do... Oh, I'm back.
You're back.
But I like what the United States Championship represents. But for me, the IC title, it's still one of my, even growing up, it was one of my favorite championships, even just to look at as a design. So the IC title for me, it's been nostalgic. It's something I've grown up with. So for me, it wouldn't be me if I went the other way.
Okay. All right. One question here. Do you guys want to see The Miz break Jericho's record and break the Length of Days record?
I actually wouldn't mind him breaking Jericho's record.
I do.
To be honest.
I want him to break both. He only needs 30 days to break the length of time record, and he needs two. And he needs 2 more reigns to break Jericho's record.
I didn't know the length of days was that close. Actually,
30 days, and he'll break the length of days record.
It's like John Cena's 16 title reign, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of time, I really feel like this is going to be the closing of his career. I think Vince knows this, and I think even The Miz knows this, because the legacy of Chris Jericho, I know he and Vince still have a very good relationship, but the legacy of Chris Jericho is WCW, then Y2J, but now the godfather of AEW. I don't think, now that that's happened, if Jericho had never left the company, I don't think this would even be a discussion, but because now he has, I think Vince wants the IC title to end and be held record-wise by one of his homegrown boys. I think The Miz is, in my opinion, The Miz is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, and so I feel like he would need to win it to tie, and they would need to win it again to break it, and he only needs 30 more days to break the Length of Days record. I feel like the last match Miz has in the WWE might be the record-breaking match.
Interesting. I think there's definitely a good shout with that because, Miz is the lifer. He's not going anywhere else. I don't see him ever being released. I can even see him being a commentator when he hangs it all up.
Oh, that would be amazing. I would love that. Yeah. Would you guys put him top 10 on the stick of all time?
It's got to be within conversation. I don't know if maybe quite top 10 of all time, but certainly in top 20 without question.
Yeah. I know everything about him, and I know how good he is with his wife and his kids, and I still hate him when he holds that mic. That's talent. That is talent. It is so good. He's so good at being a heel. I love it. All right, next one. Here we go. We deleted a t-shirt earlier. Now you got to delete a tag team from ever existing in pro wrestling. They could be singles competitors. They could be in a faction, but they will never be a tag team. You have to delete them. The Road Warriors or the Hart Foundation. And think about what you're losing if you delete them.
Wow. That is actually really hard, yeah.
Go for it.
The only way I can kind of make sense of it would be deleting the Hart Foundation because Bret was always a better singles guy anyway, I think. I know you lose then the later Hart Foundation, I think.
Oh, yeah.
As well with that. Yeah, so that's sad even to think about. Oh, Jesus! But all I can think is that if you didn't have the Road Warriors, I can't imagine them as separate.
Okay, well let me pose you a question, Warren. Would Bret have been a breakout singles star if the Hart Foundation never happened?
I think so.
You think so? You think he still would have? Okay.
Yeah, it just probably would have taken a bit longer, I think.
Okay.
That's my guess of it, but I'd have to delete the Hart Foundation if that's the case. Just because, like, I love the Road Warriors, and everyone still goes on about the Road Warriors pop and stuff like that. But I can't imagine them singles guys. I can't imagine they'd ever have a breakout if they weren't together.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's hard to think.
I'll keep my answer short. Hawk had a singles career while Animal had a back injury, and Hawk went to New Japan without Animal for a little while. And as good as he was singles, you could tell he needed somebody else. I feel like the Road Warriors, they are the epitome of separate we're okay, together we're unbeatable. And I just feel like the Road Warriors needed to always be that. In multiple circles, they're ranked as the number one tag team of all time. And I just feel like the legacy of tag team wrestling, so many tag teams, if you ask them who's your top 10 tag teams, I promise you the Road Warriors is probably somewhere on that list. So I just feel like you said, I think Brett would have been okay. Anvil could have easily been an enforcer or been in Brett's corner because he is family. So I think they would have found a place for him. I think the Road Warriors not being a tag team is a huge undercut to the legacy of tag team wrestling. I think the Road Warriors need to exist. Steve?
So which variation of the Road Warriors are we talking about? Not the one with Heidenreich, right?
Oh, no, that never happened. That never happened.
No LED 2000s, nothing like that.
No.
To be honest, I mean, if you ask me which team I like more, I was more of a Hart Foundation guy because Brett is one of my favorites of all time. But obviously, the awe of LOD, and they were a part of WWE when I first started, obviously with the shoulder pads and the spikes and stuff, they were cool, as you know. And for me, like you say, they are the team that needs to remain. I would have to get rid of the Hart Foundation because I agree with everybody else. And, I think Warren said it at the start there that Brett would be fine on his own. I'm not sure about poor Jim Neidhart. Maybe he'd be jobbing on Thunder or something. I don't know. But, but at the same time, I just, for me, I'm a big Bret Hart fan. I think LOD, I think need to be together. As you said a minute ago there, we see like the NWA stuff where he's going against Ric Flair, I think 1989 and stuff with the Bunkhouse Stampede stuff and that, if I've not got that wrong. But at the same time, like you say, when you saw them singly, they kind of thought, where's the other guy? You need they were stronger as a unit rather than individually. So no, I would say that LOD must remain as a team.
Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves, especially in the WWE, because they do it without question. And once a tag team forms, the question in WWE is how long before they break these guys up. And one of the biggest pet peeves I have is when a team is money together and they are top of the card, they're winning tag team titles, everybody's paying their money to come see these guys wrestle. And for some reason, they think we might be just as successful if we become singles competitors. I hate it when they do that. You could think of the Steiner brothers. You could think of, like the Lucha Brothers now. Rey Fenix and Penta, yeah, they're okay as singles competitors, but when they're the Lucha Brothers, they're going to steal every show. That's just what they do. And you could put the Young Bucks in that category. Can Matt and Nick Jackson wrestle singles matches? Yes. But would either of you pay to go see one of them, or are you going to see the Young Bucks? To me, I just have never understood this mentality of, we've had our heyday and we've done everything we want to do as a tag team. Now let's try out being singles. I've never understood that. That's just me personally. The Rock and Roll Express proved that you can keep doing it. And to me, the Road Warriors were a great example of that. As long as they could have been together until Hawk got sick and finally passed away, as long as they could have been together, they said, we know singles we're not going to be the draw we are when we're together. So I just have always felt that way. Now, let me ask you guys this question. In 2022, which team would work?
Oh, of those two?
Of those two.
I'd say LOD. Yeah, especially in the AEW kind of like the amount of teams they'd have to go against. Like there'd be nothing I would love more to see than one of the Road Warriors absolutely shouldering the likes of like one of the Young Bucks or one of their Lucha Brothers into orbit, that kind of thing. Because
they would stand out, that's for sure. They would definitely stand out, 100%. Steve, you agree?
I would. I think that it's more common to see a Hart Foundation in this era, but I think if you're looking for something that stands out, and there's something that goes on when you're just making the point there a minute ago, it's the brand, isn't it? It's what you think. When you think of that person, you think of them as that put together. So you think of LOD as LOD. You don't think of it as just Hawk or Animal solo stars. With Bret Hart, he was able to go on and transition. Now when you think of Bret Hart, probably in about 4 weeks' time, you're going to think of him as FTR's manager. But at this moment, you're sitting there thinking he is the guy that was, the Montreal Screwjob, the multi-time world champion, the guy that was, unfortunately kicked in the head by Goldberg. We never got the Kurt Angle match, which I will never forgive Bill for that, sadly. But hey, accidents happen, as we spoke about actually off camera with Ridge and Big E. It's just a situation of how it will be. But I think LOD would be what would be needed in an tag team division, especially we're talking about AEW at this point. Very different to everything else they have. They don't want another team that is like, if it's like the Hart Foundation, they could be like all these other teams they've got already, and then they'd arguably get lost in the shuffle.
That's such a good point. When I hear the name Bret Hart, it takes me a couple minutes before I think about the Hart Foundation. There's so much else on him that you think about before that. So that's such a good point. Awesome. Good job. All right, we got 3 more left. Here we go. Let's hit them hard. This is a little emotional, but here we go. Who would have been the bigger star today, Umaga or Test? Born the same year, died around the same age. Who would have been the bigger star today?
That's a really good question, actually. Like, I was only talking about Test. I was watching like 2002 WWE stuff, and Test was kind of like, obviously late 90s, he was kind of a big deal. 2002 though, he was just like mid-card, lower mid-card, but he was actually so entertaining to watch, and his big boot is one of the best, I think. I don't know now. I'm gonna say Test. I'm just gonna say Test, because I think with a lot of companies, when they have like a bigger guy, like if you look at Lance Archer, he kind of stands out because you're like, whoa, he's big, he's athletic, he's this, that, and the other. And I think Test could kind of fit that role. So I think he'd be a bigger star.
I'm going to interject here. I hear everything you're saying, and I cannot disagree with it. But nobody after Rikishi filled that hole until Umaga came in. There was something about that body type. There was something about that guy that who can pick him up, who can slam him, and holy cow, how can a man this big move that fast? And there's a uniqueness about Umaga that, and selfishly also because of this amazing generation type story that Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns are telling, Umaga in the bloodline. The feeling of the family there with all of that. There's something about that. So again, nothing at all against, but a lot of people, are saying, guys like Keith Lee and the big guys that are athletic and can do the high spots and things like that. When's the last time we had a real ground and pound, doesn't have to leave his feet, he just runs over you like a bulldozer, the Samoan bulldozer, which is what Umaga was. So I feel like he would stand out more in the generations, and people would be more like, this dude broke the mold, and this guy's the only guy on the whole promotion's roster that does what Umaga does. There's probably 4 or 5 tests on the WWE's roster. There's probably 3 or 4 tests in AEW's roster. There was only one Umaga in that time period. So to me, Umaga would still be a bigger generation. But I hear everything you're saying. Steve, break the tie. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to do my best to sit on the fence here before I give my answer, because I think both of them in the wrong.
That's going to hurt you, man.
I know. Why is this spiky? For me personally, I think both of these performers had the potential to be top guys.
Yes.
There's no doubt. I think the thing that let Umaga down at the period, and even though Estrada kind of was entertaining at the time,
he didn't need him.
But the thing is, if you had a different mouthpiece, say you had Paul Heyman as the guy, then
yes,
Umaga would have been world champion. There's no question.
I agree.
No question. Test, unfortunately, after what happened with, we had the storyline with Stephanie McMahon and things sort of filtered away, ended up being in that TNA tag team. It was a fun tag team for what it was, but I felt like they were more the background for Trish coming in as the manager. That was the standout of the time. It was only when we got to sort of Test versus Edge back in 2001, I think the Survivor Series, where you thought again Test could go again. They brought him in towards the end of his, in the ECW reincarnation. I thought Test was going to get to the top of the mountain there. It didn't quite work out. I think from both points made, both could have been the top guy. But if I'm leaning more on one side, I have to lean on Umaga for a lot of the points you already raised, with the idea of the bloodline, the fact of the uniqueness as well. I just think if he had the right person managing him,
I agree.
I think he would be, and especially in today's market as well, he would stand out. Again, it's about the brand, and the brand of Umaga, I think, would just be different to everything else.
Let's say I have never really done a lot of deep diving into stuff. Have either of you guys ever heard Umaga do an interview or talk? Could he be a guy on the mic? Did he need a manager?
Can't remember now, sadly.
I know, I can't either. Man, let's say I remember Test only from the replays and stuff. Test was he more than just Intercontinental Champion? Was he a tag team champion too?
United States champion for sure, I believe as well.
Okay.
European title, I think.
European title.
Yeah.
Okay. So Umaga had Intercontinental and US, I think. I don't think he was ever a tag team champion. I don't remember, but I think he at least had both of the mid card straps. But yeah, I mean, I just remember Umaga and John Cena, the match they had, and And of course, Umaga and Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania 23 with Donald Trump and Vince McMahon's hair on the line, and all of that. So I just it's heartbreaking that these guys. You can put Owen Hart in the same category now with Owen Hart's Cup coming up. We had a conversation last night. I did an episode this or that, and Owen Hart's name came up, and we all got emotional. Of just you picture the guys today that are wrestling, like Kyle O'Reilly and Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia, and the list goes on and on. But y'all know that type of wrestler, the kind of type the wrestler they are. You look back in the '90s, Owen Hart was doing that. And you think if he had stayed healthy, a 50-plus-year-old Owen Hart right now, getting in the ring like Sting is and mixing it up with these guys that are doing exactly what he used to do, it breaks my heart. Owen could have been such a trailblazer, revolutionary guy and matter of fact, Jimmy Corderas even said, and Brett's even said this, when you look at note-by-note comparison, Owen was the better wrestler than Brett. And if time would have told, Owen may have had a more prestigious career, not saying championship-wise, but just in terms of being valued as the top guy, Owen could have been that more than Brett was. And to me, that just breaks my heart even more that we never got to see it. So
absolutely. I mean, to think as well, even around the time period that obviously sadly left us, I mean, not long afterwards, Chris Jericho debuts. You've then got the Radicals coming in at the start of 2000, Kurt Angle at the end of 99, like all those matches that we could have had.
Eddie Guerrero and Owen, oh my gosh. Oh man, that's a WrestleMania main event. That's, oh my gosh. Now I'm all emotional again. Dang it. All right. We got two more. Let's finish strong. Here we go. What was the bigger missed opportunity? Steve, is right up your alley. What was the bigger missed opportunity? Hogan versus Flair in 1992, or the Battle of the People's Champions, DDP and The Rock in 2002?
Oh, very good question. I will go, though, immediately with Hogan and Flair, because we got Rock and Hogan at 18, and nothing, I think, would ever take that moment away from me. You look at 92, and we got WrestleMania 8, the first ever show I ever watched, by the way. As much as I enjoyed Ric Flair and Savage, we got Hogan and Sid Justice, and that main event just, it's a questionable main event, to say the very, very least. Right. Why WWE didn't pull the trigger on what would have been the biggest match possible to ever do in wrestling at that point. Instead, it never got done. Hogan left not long afterwards. He came back, didn't he, for WrestleMania 9, but by that point, Flair had gone back to WCW, where it came back at Super Brawl in 1993. So, I mean, WCW got the honors when they got Hogan. They didn't waste any time. They went, right, we've got Hogan. Let's book that match. It doesn't matter if it's the biggest show of the year or not. We've got both under the same roof at the same time. Let's put on the biggest showcase possible. We did get it in WWF or WWE, whatever you want to call it, but it was at house shows. So, for me, biggest opportunity missed, because at that point, that was the biggest main event that could have been in WrestleMania history, definitely at that point.
Warren, what do you think?
100% agree. Yeah, Hogan Flair. It was like, especially when you look at how it ended up turning out, as you said, like Hogan, Lee, Flair goes back to WCW, stuff like that. It was the definition of like passing ships. It's like, why did you not just do it? It would have taken you. It would have taken them 5 minutes to throw a match together. It could have lasted 5 minutes. It still would have been the biggest thing that ever happened at the time. So yeah, I think that was the biggest missed opportunity, 100%.
Yeah, I'm going to say, for the state of the business and for the legacy of pro wrestling and the history of pro wrestling, I think Flair and Hogan it's almost a cardinal sin why they didn't do that. It really is. I'm sure egos got involved. I'm sure Flair and Hogan both wanted different things, and then probably they couldn't come to an agreement to make it happen. Plus, with who's the real world champion, last thing Vince McMahon wants is to cave to another title. So I'm sure Flair wanted to go over. Hogan said, nope. I mean, y'all know the politics. Y'all know probably what exactly happened. But also just the fan in me, the thought of who can hit the diamond cutter or the rock bottom first. just something about the electricity in the room between those two guys, especially, I mean, DDP was not, I mean, he wasn't as hot as he was in 98, 99, but still, he knew how to rile the crowd up. And if the ultimate baby face, and that would have been Hollywood Rock at the time. So Rock would have healed him real good and gotten him, to really be, and then, DDP, cutting the promo going, you used to be the people's champion, but now I've taken that from you. And there's a whole lot of really cool things they could have done with that. So the fan in me wants to see Diamond Dallas Page and The Rock, but you guys have said it. The bigger missed opportunity is Hogan and Flair. I could not agree more. You guys want to add anything to that?
I think the other big missed opportunity of the question that's been presented is why DDP came in as a stalker into WWE. Not the fact that he came in.
Yeah.
He should have come in as he was. He should have come in as trying to be the People's Champion. If he'd have come in that gimmick, obviously they had to do the invasion stuff, so he had to come in heel. Totally understand that. But if he'd have come in and had the opportunity to be the DDP we know, especially from the WCW days, then I think that definitely would have been more likely to have been a dream match that we'd have needed to have seen.
Right. 100% agree. Last question on this before we get to our main event. Who do you like doing it better? Diamond Dallas Page or Randy Orton?
Damn it.
I love this or that. If you hadn't noticed, I love this or that.
Randy. Just about Randy. Because DDP could hit it from anywhere. But the thing is, the art of wrestling has moved on. Now, some would say that it's definitely more theatrical, maybe for the wrong reasons, but I'm going to say it for the right reasons. Think of WrestleMania 31, Seth going for that curb stomp, flying up in the air, being caught down. Chad Gable the other week, the most perfect moonsault you've ever seen, landed him. You've seen as well Evan Bourne as well, the shooting star press into it also. I mean, you could have simple variations as well, like CM Punk or AJ Styles flying off the forearm or a clothesline and landing into it. Randy Orton managed to make it into a meme. So,
I agree with that.
We've had, surfers and dolphins and all sorts of things flying and landing into RKO. So RKO takes it for me. But DDP was definitely was the creator of it, made it as innovative how it could be hit as possible. But where wrestling has evolved, Randy's been able to take it to the next level. So I must seem very anti-DDP today.
What do you think, Warren?
I'd agree, yeah. Orton, just for the sheer variations that have been put on it now. And then, I still can't get over that Seth Rollins one. That's my favorite RKO, I think.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind even the likes of Taker when he fought Taker at WrestleMania and he countered a chokeslam with an RKO. That's bizarre to me.
That was
You're facing the
cool.
complete opposite direction. Yeah. So as much as DDP did make it a big deal, it felt like a finishing move. I think Orton just edges it just because of the variations.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because being a WCW homer, DDP was my guy, and so. I will say Randy Orton gets every last ounce of juice he can out of it. It is one of the most protected finishers in the world, and out of nowhere. And when he hits it, it's usually over unless somebody breaks up the pin. So it's definitely held in that regard. I know who's kicking themselves is Johnny Ace, that he didn't think about doing half the stuff with it that these two guys did after him. And I will say that because of what Randy has done, now everybody and their mama does a cutter these days. It's crazy that he's made it. I mean, Sammy Guevara doing that crazy cutter off the top rope with Cody, Randy's sitting back at home watching, going, "Yeah, that was all right." So, but I'm gonna give I'll be the odd man out. I don't care. I'm gonna give the slight edge to Diamond Dallas Page because of the psychology of it. To think that this guy is gonna get you up in a fireman's carry and he's gonna walk with it. No, psych, diamond cutter. I love that stuff. The crowd's sitting there going, "Oh, this is go." So that's the slight edge. Usually Randy, and it's funny enough. You guys both said it. Randy almost never hits it doing the thing he does. He almost never hits it with that anymore. That's always just for theatrics. Usually when he hits it, it's out of nowhere when someone's not looking. So. But yeah, just for the fun in me, the thing everybody's like, well, Dean Malenko was the man of 1,000 holds. DDP was the man of 1,000 diamond cutters. How the heck can this guy get that thing on you? But every week it felt like he came up with a new way to put it on. So I just always respected that. Warren, did you want to say something? It looks like you were going to say something.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve, you want to add anything?
I just like you say, sometimes you have to look at the originator, and obviously, DDP was very creative with the way he done it. So I mean, like you say, he had so many ways of doing it.
Yeah.
The opportunity for someone else like Randy to take that on and take it to same or another level in today's market,
right.
Both were incredible. So you can't take away from either.
No, 100%. And you're right. It's become a meme, and now it's when you see kids doing it to each other on football fields. Randy Orton's the reason they do it. So yeah, 100%. I agree. Main event, here we go. Don't hold back. Be blunt. Be honest. It's not like anybody's going to watch this, although I'm going to let you guys share this clip and use it however you want to. AEW, pro wrestling or sports entertainment? Go for the gut. Go for the gut. Be honest.
Do you want to go first, Warren, or do you want me to?
I want you to go first.
Warren's afraid.
Yeah.
AEW right now is pro wrestling. Right now, it is starting to flirt with the idea of sports entertainment. The idea of how Jericho is now going to take that and move that forward. There is a lot of what they can do as a promotion right now. Like they've got Rampage, they've got Ring of Honor. If they really wanted to, they can have an in-out war and make both companies as hot as one another. You could have Regal, Danielson, Moxley, all about the Ring of Honor style, and having those styles of wrestlers on that show, and then having like the sports entertainment of AEW. But they want AEW to be the opposition of WWE, and they cater to what is pro wrestling fans. WWE cater to what is sports entertainment fans, which is not most. I mean, people are sports entertainment fans that watch WWE, but at the same time, we are the people that will turn around and go, why is Logan Paul at WrestleMania? Well, because celebrity is what WrestleMania is. It's sports entertainment. They bring those people in. If you go back to WrestleMania 1, it was Muhammad Ali that was there as a special guest referee. It was Cyndi Lauper that was involved coming down to the Women's Championship match. It was all about celebrity. It moved on with Mr. T as well in the main event. He was in the boxing match of WrestleMania 2. Lawrence Taylor, as much as that's my least favorite WrestleMania of all time, at WrestleMania 11. Mike Tyson is the reason that Steve Austin got to be Steve Austin. Yep. Let's not get it twisted. He made that. So celebrity and sports entertainment is what WWE does, which is why you're getting Logan Paul, Johnny Knoxville, whoever is going to be in there this year. I mean, Pat McAfee's even got a match as well. AEW doesn't do that. Yes, we've had Shaq in there. Shaq has been in the ring once, but we've seen Snoop Dogg as well do a questionable-looking frog splash. But all in all, AEW don't do that as much. They will push you and say, no, you want to see Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page. We're pushing our main event of Dynamite as Hangman Adam Page against Lance Archer, even though Archer loses every big match he's put in. They are the definition of what currently is a pro wrestling company. But if they want to, now they've got this Jericho stable, they can start flirting with that idea, because you know one thing's for sure. Every time someone flirts with the idea of sports entertainment, Daniel Bryan has to say WrestleMania. The crowd in AEW hates it. They are pro wrestling.
Warren, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think, as weird as it sounds, I think pro wrestling is sports entertainment now. It's very hard to differentiate the two, almost. Do you know what I mean? Like, as much as I love AEW, and I'll sit there and I'll watch it every day, it wouldn't bother me. But I think, like as Steve said, they'll boo WrestleMania and such. That's fine. But then you could have a particular match type that might be something along the lines that WWE might do, or they might throw a swerve in here, like something that WWE would do, and the fans would cheer it. So I think it's almost, it's literally just a team kind of thing. Like, I support Arsenal, I would boo Tottenham Hotspur. Do you know what I mean? I'd boo Man United, that kind of thing. Whereas if Man United played good football, I would be like, that was an all right goal. So I think sports entertainment will edge it, because I think it's just, that's how it is now. It's very hard. Like, if you were to sit there and watch, say, I suppose you could say like a Lou Thez match from whatever year back in the 40s or the 50s, you could sit there and you'd be like, because it's just different now. And so I think sports entertainment is what pro wrestling is. So I think, yeah, sports entertainment.
Warren, that's a very profound statement. I think there's a company that, if you could epitomize pro wrestling and what pro wrestling is, I think they just bought it, and that's Ring of Honor. Because Ring of Honor, with even the pure championship and what they were doing, the little bit I was able to see of that, it wasn't about gimmicks. It was about technique. It was about moves. It was about who can make the other guy tap or who can get the pin. That's what it's always been about. Yeah, there's promos, and yeah, there's entrances and everything else, but it's not about the high spots. It's not about, playing to the crowd. It's about, I want to win this match. And that's pro wrestling to me. So sports entertainment is more about characters and storylines and twists and turns and things like that. And I'll be the first to admit it, as much as people may not like to hear this, and even a couple of my co-hosts may like to hear this, I am a sports entertainment fan more than a pro wrestling fan. There are times I will fast forward through matches because I want to get to a promo, or I want to get to a backstage segment, because the story intrigues me more than a bunch of moves that are just being done for the sake of moves. If it's not telling me a story and not getting me more ingrained in the character in the ring, then to me it's just a show of athletic ability. I could watch Cirque du Soleil for that. I could watch the Olympics for that. You know, I want you to suck me into your character. I want you to suck me into the story you're trying to tell, not show me the new Canadian Destroyer variation you learned how to do. You know, so to me, the moves are not what's selling me. To me, what's selling me is your character, what you're saying, and then when you take what your character is and what you're saying into a match, how will that play out with your opponent, and what's going to be the end result of it to get to the next chapter of the story you're trying to tell. That, to me, that is what entrenches me. And if that's sports entertainment, then okay, I'm a bigger fan of sports entertainment than I am of pure pro wrestling. And AEW fans drive me crazy because they go, there's no way we're sports entertainment. You got a dinosaur on your roster, dude. I'm sorry. You're not selling me. You got a dinosaur. You got a dude that is half dead in the face. You got Thunder Rosa, who wears half makeup for her heritage and everything. They're not purely coming out in simple attire trying to just win matches. They're entertaining. They're trying to get over. They're trying to get you reacting to them. So you can't have true, wrestling product these days without having some form of entertainment in it, because good grief, otherwise what's going to happen? You're going to be on your phone the whole show, because there's something more entertaining apparently here than what I'm watching in the ring. And so as much as I want to say that AEW is the alternative and they are truly pro wrestling, I feel like the alternative is the program they just bought, which is Ring of Honor. I feel like AEW is a hybrid. Maybe they lean more towards pro wrestling, like Steve said, but to me, they're sports entertainment a little bit more than they are pro wrestling. That's just my opinion. You guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, actually, I have a fair bit to add, actually, because I think a lot of good points have been raised. And I think that when you look at things as well, for example, Tony Khan, thinking about it, he's always got these big surprises, these big announcements. That's a sports entertainment vibe. You're being hooked into the show for the entertainment, not being hooked in for the actual match itself. Yeah, you're going to get a match out of it. You're going to enjoy it. But some of the big moments that we've been really hyped for and seeing has been the return of CM Punk to a wrestling ring. The night where, we've got Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson like a couple of minutes later. Yep. So, it is these big entertainment moments. And I suppose, as Warren put it, and as you spoke about as well there, Dave, it's like they intertwine each other. And I think that's kind of, probably what it comes down to.
And that's okay. That's my thing. That's okay. Yeah,
absolutely. They perhaps don't go as much as WWE in some formats. Right. But all in all, entertainment is there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's the thing I keep trying to stress to people that are like, like the whole thing you said with Chris Jericho trying to make it a bad thing. You know why he's trying to make it a bad thing? Because they don't want to admit they are that. Or they have semblances of that. And that's my thing. AEW fans, it's okay. It's getting over. People are tuning in to see it. There's nothing wrong with that. So stop saying we're not sports entertainment. We're not sports entertainment. If you are, that's okay. And guess what? There's some good pro wrestling in WWE too. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus was not an entertaining match. That was a wrestling match. They beat the holy crap out of each other. Sasha and Bayley is a wrestling match. I believe we're going to see Bianca and Becky have a wrestling match. Are there characters involved? Yes, but when they get in the ring, they're going to have a match. They're not going to spew mist at each other and see who can, swing around the ring on a cable or have a shark cage match. It's not going to be that. They're going to wrestle. So I don't know. To me, that's what gets on my nerves is people that have this stupid tribalism war of who's pro wrestling and who's sports entertainment. Can't we all just be both and enjoy both?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah,
100%. That's what I feel. Anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all joining me this evening. This has been This or That from Across the Pond. Once again, thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to subscribe to this channel, once again, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SmackDraw Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, click that bell. Every time we go live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SmackDraw, we encourage you to do that and join us live. Join us in the chat, and we'll shout you out, and we'll talk to you live on the air. Also, if you want to support us financially, you can do that 2 reasons. Go to our PayPal, paypal.me/SmackDrawPod, and you can donate there, or visit our Patreon, which is patreon.com/SmackDrawPodcast. There's 4 different tiers there that if you go there, you can Pick a tier that suits you best for financially, and we'll unlock different stuff for you depending on what tier you choose. But the important thing is, join us live when we go live, and thank you for supporting us. At this time, I'm going to let these two amazing gentlemen put themselves over and plug what they've got coming up. Steve, I'm going to start with you. Tell us where we can find you on your social media channels, and what do you have coming up later on your show?
Right, so SCW, the wrestling channel on YouTube. I do a lot of different variations of videos, whether it's Q&As, live streams, predictions, reviews. I've even got a collaboration video coming out with these two great gentlemen. What is the greatest WrestleMania of all time, and what is the greatest WrestleMania match of all time? Those have taken a lifetime to edit. So please, if you can spare yourselves a bit of time, go and watch what these fine gentlemen have got to say about it. You can hear my opinion as well of what is the greatest WrestleMania event and what is the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. And I appreciate the plug, and I appreciate you having me on here. It's been a lot of fun to be a part of this.
Absolutely. I'm so thankful you came on, Steve. It was a pleasure to have you as well. Warren, put yourself over, plug your stuff. Where can we find you on social media, and what do you have coming up?
So coming up next anyway would be the Discus Lariat Collective on YouTube. We have a history, like what was the best year for the WWE Championship, the World Heavyweight Championship, stuff like that. We're still kind of working on that. We also have a Remembering Razor Ramon / Scott Hall episode coming out soon. That should be out, I think, next Monday, hopefully. And then lately I've been on Twitch just playing some WWE 2K22. So the Twitch handle is hangmans_clutch.
Awesome. And you can follow me at Bama Slammer. You can follow the podcast at SmackDraw Pod. And once again, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you, Steve and Warren, for giving up your time to do this or that with us today. Until the next time we drop the hammer, we'll see you next time here on the Bama Slammer. Have a good night, everybody.